Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. A warm welcome and to another edition of Life Matters. As we discuss in the show, because every life does matter on Hilaal TV, I'm Khawa Solomon, and stay with me for the next hour as you can follow us on our live channel as well, which is Hilaal.tv on the World Wide Web. And remember, we try and upload the shows the very next day when after the show is. So please watch out for Hilaal TV Life Matters. So today we are addressing in the parenting sphere healthy and happy children. It's important to note that there are rather images, there are videos, there are WhatsApp messages going around with the negative connotations. There's also the concern of the war out in Palestine, and we're getting all sorts of traumatic sometimes, but just disturbing images and videos that we're not necessarily ready for. So today we will be speaking and to address this in a healthy and happy family sphere is social worker Yasmina Samaai, all the way from the Western Cape in Cape Town, who's also known as the Islamic therapist. Let's welcome her to our online room. Assalamu alaikum to you, Yasmina.
Wa alaikum salam.
Shukran so much for joining us this today. We appreciate your time, and we understand that things are quite intense with all the media and the news showing images of war-torn Palestine and Israel and what is happening out there, and you get flashes of body parts and babies that are badly been I don't want to say, I've been affected, yes. Images of blood more than what we've seen in many times. So we would like to know how we can address this within our healthy and happy family sphere. And we're hoping to do a series with you to complement a happy, healthy family. So firstly, to address that, but Yasmina, just tell us a bit about yourself and give us a brief background on Yasmina Samaai.
Okay, no problem. So, yes, my name is Yasmina Samaai. So, I am 26 years of age. I'm a mother to 2-year-old, alhamdulillah, married. I'm a social worker by profession. I'm private practice. And I've also studied BA in Islamic Studies and postgrad in Islamic Studies. So, basically what I do in my practice would be combining the two, because I do think that healing, especially mental health, is deeply embedded in our Islamic practices and Islamic sciences. So that's basically what I do.
So, and sort of in your introduction, Yasmina, if we can start with why is it important to have a healthy and happy, holistic family?
This yes. So this is a core of what I actually do. So and I actually firmly believe, and this is mainly where I'm focusing my research is where the happy and healthy family stems from the parents, especially the female. And we know from the practice of Anam said it already starts. So raising a good family, a healthy family starts already by choosing a spouse. So that is where things like, and we can always discuss this in later series, things that's important, like mental, premarital counseling, premarital education for both the husband and the wife. So this is what I mainly focus at. And so to be training the parents, training each individual prior to getting married on what it is that you want out of your family, your goals, your objectives, how you like to raise your children, things like that. So I firmly believe that starts even prior to marriage. And even those that are already married, it's never too late to learn. And I'm a firm believer that education is of utmost importance. And we'll see even throughout the day or later series, you would see that I place a lot of focus on education. I do believe education is the key to happy, empowered families.
Inshallah, and hopefully we can get that message across that it starts with the parent, the adults. We are the leaders, we are the pillars within that family household, and we are but a little bit more matured than the youngsters. It's not them ruling us. We need to not rule them in per se, but guide them rather as to what we'd like, how they would be in accordance with to what Islam wants us, and also in line with the Prophet Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam's teachings, inshallah, as much as we can to live a sunnah life. So, Yasmina, we have been bombarded with all these images, messages of what's happening in Palestine and Israel. And we need to look at the positives and how we, as a healthy, happy family, can take this forth. So, how can we shield our children from the negative impact of this media coverage of the global conflicts like the war in Palestine, and still keeping in mind and still keeping in mind that we have to keep ourselves and our family informed, but positively?
Yes, so this is a very important question. I think it's something that most of us as parents are struggling with at the moment. And this definitely also comes down to the fact that we sometimes don't even have control over what our kids are exposed to on devices, on TV, etc. So once again, like I said, I place a lot of focus on the parents and parents being educated. So here you would see that it will be the parents' responsibility then to make sure that the kids are not exposed to these graphic images. Not to the point, and I know some people might take it as no, but you can't shield the kids from what's happening. You can't create this unrealistic expectation of what the world is. But let's look at it actually from the flip side again. Do you also want to create? And remember, a child, when I'm speaking about a child, I'm talking about an individual at the age of 12 or younger.
Mm.
They haven't formed the ability to make sound judgments as yet. So you're thinking as a parent, expecting your child to be able to be exposed to these images, be exposed to what is happening in Palestine, and expecting them to come out and process that with and have the correct judgments. I think this as parents must realize that this is unrealistic for us to expect from our kids. And just like you said, you don't want to rule your kids, but at the same time, you want to guide them on how to process their emotions. What does one do when you are exposed to these difficult imagery? And we do have oftentimes, just before image pops out, it says the I think to say sensitive viewing or something like that.
Yeah.
But a lot of the times that's not there. So it would be us as parents that we would have to get responsibility to check what they're being exposed to. And I mean, if you just scroll through YouTube, TikTok, Instagram, whatever it is, immediately those images come up, especially uh, because they obviously have the algorithm and they would know, okay, these are the things that you might be interested in. So constantly your children will be exposed to this. And it's images that will be very difficult for parents to explain. I mean, just recently, I think a lot of us were exposed to the the father that ran. I mean, there's so many images of this of the father that ran with the kids and babies. So how do you explain this to a 5, 6, 7 year old
Mm.
child that sees that is exposed to the fact that, oh, but this child is similar age to me. This child looks like me. This child's a Muslim like me.
Mm.
But this is what's happening to me. This is what other adults have done to a child my age. Can you see how it's very dangerous for a child to be exposed to this if they are not I don't want to say it's sound mind, but they do not have the proper support structures in place for them
Mm.
to process this. They will start to maybe distrust the world.
Yeah.
And it's important for us as parents then to say, this is bad things happening to good people.
Mm.
And we make dua for him and by example we would go to the marches, we would donate and involve our kids in this. But at the same time we teach our children that the rest of the world is not like this. This is
Yeah.
not the case. Not everyone is bad, and not everyone is out there to harm kids, and your life is not necessarily in danger. So we must find a fine balance between the two. To
Yeah.
not shield them too much from everything that's happening, but to make sure that they understand what's happening.
I want to look at that fine balance and some of the strategies we can look to still create that stable home within this conflict war torn, exposed media that we do see. We're chatting to Yasmina Samaai, the Islamic therapist, online with us as we unpack healthy, happy families in this war torn Palestine and what is happening, or at least the imagery that we are exposed to. Back in a moment. Do stay with us. Welcome back, Assalamu alaikum, and a very good day to you wherever you are across the lands and over the beautiful seas. Please do join us via www www.hilaal.tv, and you can catch us as well on our YouTube channel as we upload our shows. Please interact with us as well via our various social media pages, because we'd love to hear from you and interact with your interest in what you'd like to hear and see on Life Matters. Online, we have Yasmina Samaai Salie, all the way from the Western Cape in Cape Town, a social worker who has a passion for Islamic therapy and to look at it holistically from the parents to heal your family from within, because it is our responsibility to guide our children. So today we're looking at healthy, happy families, especially with regards to the negative media that's around, the war-torn conflicts within Palestine and Israel. And we want to understand some of the strategies that we can actually put in place. So Yasmina, welcome back. Let's look at what strategies we can, implement and maintain a sense of calm and still, that security and stability in our family, although we know that there's this conflict of global tension.
Yes, very important because, like I mentioned before, our children, whether or not we interact with it as much as we can, they will be exposed to ultimately what is happening out there. With regards to the marches, speaking to friends, social media, things like that, they are definitely exposed to what is currently happening, which we should see as a positive thing. However, just the graphic viewing, and so we should perhaps shield our kids from. So the stability aspect of it, I think this is very important. And I think what I've been noticing with parents, and especially those that are definitely feeling what the Palestinians are going through currently, feeling in a way that they feel helpless, but a deep sense of helpless. So not just helpless as in, you care and you're making dua and donating and going to marches and things like this, but I'm talking about a deep sense of sadness. I don't, perhaps even showing some signs of depression. So deep sense of sadness, and to the point where you are unable to then function properly within your daily activities. So maybe you are not able to drop the kids in the morning because you haven't been able to sleep because you are crying or you are making dua or things like that. So you're not now able to function correctly within all the duties that you have throughout the day. So this is when it becomes a bit more worrisome. And this is where we need to focus on stability for our kids in our homes. And stability means that things that are normal in your family. We don't want to create the impression that this is not happening in Palestine, we should turn a blind eye. But at the same time, we need to put our kids first and create that stability. So if you are used to that, the family makes Maghrib Salah together, keep that, continue that, and then maybe add it to our, etc. after Salah. And if it is that the family eats together, continue that. So everything that the family is used to doing on a daily basis, try and keep that routine in place to keep that stability for the kids. And I think this is definitely very important because remember, a child sees a parent as the individual that provides security and protection for them. So when they're going to see a parent that now is unable to perform their duties because of the deep sadness that they are feeling, can you see that this can be very confusing, very scary for a child, because not only are they worried about things like, because remember, you worried about Palestine, which is definitely valid. We all feel that way. But from a child's perspective, they are maybe worried about who's going to pack my lunch, who's going to make sure I'm being picked up from extramural, who's going to be there for me if I have a rough day. So these might seem minor to you compared to children being killed out in Palestine, which makes complete sense. But from a child's perspective, these things are very important in their daily lives. So to keep that stability, to make sure that you still see to the needs of the child, no matter if you see it as a great responsibility or very minor, or you start to belittle what they are going through because of what you see the kids in Palestine going through, this is your child's reality. And whatever needs that they need currently, you still need to see to them. Remember, they are your amana, and stability and routine is very important for kids to feel that sense of security.
Yeah. So how do we navigate the discussions of these sensitive topics with regards to the global conflicts without causing, any anxiety or fear within the children, and approach them as politely and sensitively as possible?
Yes, so this would depend on the age of the kids.
Okay.
So obviously, they're a bit older, then you would be able to have discussions with them. Maybe you're even able to send them even things that they might be interested in, things like YouTube videos that have maybe cartoon images or easy way for them to understand. You aren't able to bring things across in a sound manner for your child to understand. But then for the younger kids, you could do things like storybooks. You can use storybooks. You can even use the dolls and the toys that they have to explain to them what is happening in Palestine and explain to them that these individuals that are going through this trial. But as us as Muslims here at home in our area where we are safe, this is also a test to us. This is how are we going to help our Muslim brothers and sisters out there? So then you can start to show them that you are not complacent in what is happening, but rather you are doing things like you are attending marches, you are doing things like donating, and have the children be involved in this. Let them see that even though you are so far away from Palestine, you are still able to provide assistance. And like I said, use imagery, use books, use toys to be able to have this discussion with them in a child-friendly manner. Obviously, definitely according to their ages. So you wouldn't go very explicit if it's a young child. So you wouldn't speak about things like blood or children, people being massacred and things like that. You wouldn't discuss it in that way. You might say that things that they've passed and they've now gone to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala took them away. They are now safer. And that's how you maybe have this discussion with kids. But something that I really want to discuss that comes again from the parents and very important for the parents to take concept of is remember a child, they are still forming their judgments as mentioned before. And yes, they are your Muslim children, they are aware of Salah, they are aware of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, they are aware of his names, perhaps some of the characteristics. But here it's important to remember a child might not understand. I mean, even parents, they are adults struggling with this now, where they don't completely comprehend why are these things happening to our Muslim brothers and sisters. Why is this happening? And it might test our faith. And that's the reality of it. So what do we do as adults, but also for our kids? It is very important here to educate yourself. And many of us focus on the names of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, which is a very good place to start. Yes. But the subject, the science of Aqidah is vast. And it's not necessary for all of us to go into depth, but to know things like what is impossible, what is mustahil for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, what is things that are compulsory on Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So to know these things and then to comprehend that, look, good and bad comes from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. But to know his characteristics, to know that he's everlasting, to know that he's most merciful, things like that, that's very important to also try and understand, not only for an adult, but for a child, to understand what is happening in Palestine, why this is happening in Palestine, for kids my age, for kids younger than me, for families, for a child that's lived with nobody, that maybe 2, 3, 4 years old that dies, no family. So in order to understand these things, if they were already exposed to it, it takes you to have a good footing in your faith, a good understanding of your aqidah, your belief, in order to explain this in a child-friendly way to our kids.
Are there certain things that we should steer away from saying to our child, like, be grateful that you have a home, these people in Palestine that, their homes were taken away from? And how should we say these things to show our children appreciation for what they have?
Yes, yes. So this is important. Look, we must also remember that it's not necessarily the child's fault that these things are happening in Palestine. So you can't let them feel uneasy or unsafe in these circumstances because of what's happening in Palestine, perhaps because of the trauma that you are now experiencing watching this. So now your child comes to you and they say things like, maybe their soccer shoe is broken or perhaps their ball. So, and now you make it trivial in the fact that, kids in Palestine don't even have a ball. This is kids in Palestine don't even have shoes. They don't even have parents. They don't even have this. But for a child to comprehend, but I understand what's happening in Palestine. I understand the difficulty that they're going through. But if you understand the functioning of a child, you will see that they would understand scenarios relative to themselves.
Yeah.
So they won't understand why are you mentioning something that's happening that I have no control over, but how does that affect me? Why does that mean I can't get a new ball? I can't get this pair of shoes or so. Why can't my needs be met because of something that's out of my control? So it's very difficult as adults to understand what level of thinking our kids are at. But you can almost generalize to say kids 12 and younger would usually take situations around them relative to themselves. So how does whatever it is that I'm witnessing on YouTube, my parents are going through, how does that involve me? How does it affect me? So to have this when you discussing with children to say, look, you want this, but look at the kids in Palestine are going through. Perhaps you can do things in a more gentle way. Say things like, you want to new gold, so that's going to cost maybe 50, 60, maybe 100 rand. Do you know there might be kids in Palestine that need this 100 rand a little bit more than what you would do. And maybe if you can wait for your birthday to save up a little bit, you can wait another month. Maybe we can use that 100 rand and we can donate it towards the kids to show them that it was in their control to do something positive for those kids in Palestine. So not blaming them for what the Palestinian children do not have, but rather involving them into doing something positive. So you're making it kind of about them to make it as if they have a positive impact on what's happening in Palestine. So you must always remember how a child functions. How do they think of a situation and use that to foster that empathy, to foster that love for others other than themselves.
Thank you, Yasmina. I think sometimes we don't always realize as parents what is age appropriate, and we kind of say things completely out of out of context, and we don't necessarily know how to backtrack. So, inshallah, with a show like this, you can help us just resolve that. But yes, Yasmina, please do stay with us online. We're quickly going to pay the bills and we chat further on healthy, happy families in this whole conflict, war-torn issue, and with negative media around us, and how do we handle all of that as parents. Back in a moment. Do stay with us. Welcome back. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. It's an awesome time spending the day with you on Life Matters as we look into healthy, happy families in the context of the war-torn conflict in Palestine and all the negative media around. How do we process it? How do we help our family understand it? How do we guide them through that? We're chatting to Yasmina Samaai Salie all the way from Western Cape in Cape Town, who's also known as the Islamic therapist, and she guides us through some of the strategies to understand, and one that I can relate to, Yasmina, is the 99 names of Allah. Sometimes when you don't understand your situation, the way things are going in your community, sometimes even in your family, there's conflict in your family, you just don't know how to resolve it. And you say the word like one of the 99 names of Allah, which is Al-Fatah, which means the opener. Please open up a way for me to either grant me understanding, or to open up a way for me to console my heart. Whatever it is, you cannot imagine just saying that word, just saying that name, and understanding that characteristic of Allah helps you, whether it takes you a month of saying it like 1,000 times a day or 100 times a day. It is a way of resolving a situation. I'm sure there's lots of people that can attest to it. So Yasmina, welcome back. Are you still with us?
Yes.
Okay, awesome. So looking at some of the strategies and how we can understand that and sort of provide a healthy communication between our children, can you look at some guidance on establishing a healthy balance between the media consumption and also family time, how we can spend that family time? You've mentioned one of the things, like, if you're making salah together, still continue doing that. Really to ensure the children's emotional well-being. So just look at the balancing of, media exposure and family time.
This even outside of what we're experiencing now as Muslim community, what's happening in Palestine, even outside of this is very important to have this within the family. And I always place special focus on having routine. Routine is so important for kids because it gives them that stability, it gives them that security, it gives them protection. To know what to expect of what's coming next is very important for a child. Things happen haphazardly, by surprise. It's not always good for the functioning of the kids. So to have a routine, to have structure, for them to know what's happening next is very important. And yes, so what can you do to help with their mental health? But in fact, holistically, how do you assist the child? So first, I would say it would be very important to see maybe trigger signs that the child might be expressing where they might be having difficulty with processing what's happening currently in Palestine. So they might, so if your child says something, let's think of an example, maybe they say something to the kid that, you know what's happening in Palestine, mommy, I want to go there, and I want to go and I want to kill those people that are killing those kids. So this would be something that as a parent you would think, okay, how do I handle this? How do I now explain to my child the difference between empathy and sympathy? How do I show them, look, yes, I understand this is how you're feeling hurt, you're feeling upset, and stood by what we have been seeing in social media. But this is what was in our power to do, my child. And perhaps, to retaliate, to fight, and things like that is not the answer. Because this is not only planting the seed for what's happening now in Palestine with the child, but it's also if they were to face difficulties in the future, maybe at school, maybe things like bullying, maybe
Yes,
later
yes.
on in lives at university, in the work life. Now, violence is not the answer. So you would have to assist your children in containing that emotions that they're feeling because they might not be able to process that very well by themselves depending on their age. So look out for those trigger signs. But also, what's very important is to also keep your children active. Not only will it keep them away from the TV, but to say things like, what would you like to do? Would you like to go for a walk in the park? Let's go kick ball outside. Let's go and do something that you find fun to do. Whatever it is that they like to do. Not only does it take them away from the screen, but it allows them to be physically active, allows for all those happy hormones to come out and to maybe, let's say, like try and forget, or what is happening. They give them a social media break. And just to say the word social media break, there are adults that are taking social media
Yeah.
breaks now because are not being they just aren't able to filter what they're being exposed to at the moment. So
Yes,
whether you
yes.
want to or not, sliding through messages, WhatsApp, whatever it is, TikTok, Instagram, you're exposed to it everywhere. So if you as an adult need a social media break, can you just try and comprehend that the child might need that even more? So these things must be considered as parents to help our kids holistically, so physically but also mentally to assist them.
Yeah. That example you use, yes, there is a child that maybe has open conversation with a parent, but what in some cases when the child is feeling frustrated about the situation, when they see, negative media and they can't necessarily express it. So what are some of the effective ways to promote that open and honest communication within a family, especially when discussing these challenging topics?
This is so important. And I sound like maybe those that follow some of the discussions that I have, they would
Mm.
know I'm like a broken record when I say that open communication between parents
Yeah.
and your kids are of utmost importance. And I mean, it's not only when it comes to Palestine, what's happening there, it's in all cases. I recently completed a workshop on abuse. So protecting your children from abuse, various forms of abuse. So just being able to pick up those warnings, those signs, those red flags. It takes that open communication between the parent and the child. And whose responsibility is it to do that? It is the parents. It is your duty that if your child, and I say this like a broken record all the time, if your child comes from school, and I know some parents will tell me, yes, but you're saying this, but I have 5 kids. But that is your man. Alhamdulillah, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has
Yeah.
blessed you with
Yeah.
this, but it is your responsibility with all 5 of those kids on a daily basis to check in with all of them. So when you come from school, and simple things like touch is very important. Whether it is at
Mm.
your knees, touch their knees, whether your hands are on their hands, look at them. Be able to recognize that maybe there's a scar that's on their face that wasn't there previously. Be able
Mm.
to recognize that the eyes are maybe red, that they were crying before you picked them up from school. Look at them. Take that. Don't watch your series and then cook your food, and then while you're shouting and stirring your onions, you're saying, "Oh, so how was your day at school?" And then they say, "Oh, it was fine. The kids did this and this." But what you missed is that when they said that, they had a little teardrop coming down their eyes. But
Mm.
all you heard, but you didn't take note of the visual signs, the red flags that they were. So we need to have this open communication with our children. And I say, if it's 15 minutes, 30 minutes, whatever you are able to do, sit and connect with your child. How was your day? Who did you speak to? Oh, is it that friend from that time that you mentioned that might have hurt you, said something mean to
Yeah.
you? Or is it that friend? Oh, so is that what's happening with your friend? Oh, so what's happening in their homes? So not
Yes.
only to get an idea of who your children are being exposed to, so whether it is the teachers, the coach, the kids in your class, but now you can start to get an idea of but where do these kids come from? What are the homes that these kids come from? Because these are who your children spend a bulk of their day with. This is the people that have major influence over your child. So it is your responsibility to know what happened throughout the day. What were they exposed to? What, even if you shielding your child in the home from these graphic imagery, maybe they're being exposed to that school because all their friends have open access to social media. So here they are exposing your child to these graphic images that you weren't ready to deal with your kids. And how are you going to know this? You are only going to know this by opening that communication with your kids and in a non-judgmental way. Don't have that open communication with your kids, but then the moment they say something that might have been incorrect from your standpoint, you go and you jump down their throat. Why did you do this? Why did you do that? But deal with things in a gentle way because remember, the way you respond now is going to lay the foundation of how they're going to treat you later on in their life. So if you are going to cut them off now or be harsh to them now or use words, harsh words now, at a later stage, they might decide, oh, these are the things I'm not going to share with my parents because of the action I got that day.
Very true.
So all this is very important for adults to take into consideration.
So, and also, what you're doing now is what they're going to follow to do to their children again. So rather do the better thing than not. And then on the flip side, Yasmina, what about fostering the understanding of creating that empathy and that understanding that they need to have to process all this negative media, or when they see somebody, in distress at school, as like a friend or someone that they don't know. So how do they, create that tolerance and peace? How do we teach them that?
Oh, this is.
I know that's a long question. I tell you what, we've got 2 minutes before ad break. I'm going to come back with that question, and inshallah, we'll recap quickly. But stay with us. We are talking about raising healthy and happy children within our family and understanding what's happening within this crazy media and exposure of the images and the negative connotation of the war-torn conflict in Palestine. And yet, yes, we can correlate it to Palestine, but there's also situations within our family that's quite, with severe conflict. And we don't sometimes know how to, process it. So Yasmina Samaai, our social worker, Islamic therapist, is online guiding us on how to do exactly that. So stay with us. Don't go anywhere. Welcome back. Our last few minutes as we recap and not necessarily end off this topic because it's a topic that is actually a continuous conversation as we need to understand how we can take forth being a happy and healthy family in conflict issues. Situations rather. So we have online with us Yasmina Samaai Salie, all the way from the Western Cape in Cape Town, imparting some pertinent information as we need to foster and understand how we can actually relay a positive parenting process. So Yasmina, just before the break, I sort of initiated the question around the flip side when your child is not showing any emotion or when they're not knowing how to express or even foster a sense of empathy. Just guide us on some of some tools, how they can process the negative media coverage, and also when they are exposed to something at school, for instance, and they just, want to shy away. Do they do something? Do they say anything? Or when they're actually not showing any emotion?
So this is also like I mentioned before. It's key for you to have that connection with your child, so you're able to see the differences in the levels of their voices. So when they tell you something, maybe they fade away a little bit when they start to speak about a certain individual.
Okay.
Try and avoid speaking about a certain individual, things like that. So these are the things that you try and look out for. But to foster that empathy in our kids, we have so many opportunities here in our own context as well. When we stop at the side of the road, we see individuals begging almost at every stop sign. So if that is the case, you can have a discussion with your child and say, what do you think of this uncle, this auntie standing here begging? Tell me what you think of the uncle, and listen to their responses. Because remember, they listen to everything that you and your spouse or whoever is having has a discussion in front. So maybe if you have this negative attitude towards those individuals that are begging and you sometimes say very vulgar things, listen and see. You will see that the kids pick up on these things.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
they will then say to you, maybe they'll say something like, they're rude and how dare they do something like that, or you might even hear your own words when they're explaining these things to you.
Mm-hmm.
But what you actually want to start to foster is try and understand, why do you think this individual is finding themselves in this situation? Wow, what do you think the circumstances are like? Try to foster that empathy, and not only with this, with all this violence that we're being exposed to on a daily basis in our news. Um, Ask your kids, what do they think of this situation? And a simple example also that we can take from our past, from our Islamic history is, ask them, for example, somebody that steals.
Mm.
Not to say that we're going to condone things like stealing, but ask them what you think of a starving individual that steals a loaf of bread from a shop.
Mm. Mm.
So see and try and pull out from them, what do they think? Do they think, oh, but the person really needed it? It was out of necessity to feed their family members,
Mm-hmm.
and that's what led them to do that? Or are they going to say, no, but stealing is wrong outright?
Mm.
Or
Mm.
are they going to take it a bit further and to say, but maybe we should help this person to be in a position where they wouldn't have to steal any longer? So see where they are, how their thinking is, and try to
Okay.
guide them
Okay.
in a way to think correctly, to think in a way of empathy.
So I want to look at some specific techniques and activities that can help a couple. The parents actually working together when they want to relay a message, when they want to maintain a strong, supportive partnership within the household. How do they sort of demonstrate to the family, especially during times of external stress and anxiety, and this is maybe not necessarily in the media, but it could be also conflict within the family.
Yes. So it would be very important to differentiate, especially as the married couple. So where are the issues lying? Is it within the home? Is it you and your spouse, the two of you, your relationship? Or is it external? Is it things like maybe family members? Is it
Mm.
things like work? Is it financial responsibilities? So first, number one is to try and identify where the problem lies. So if it's things like issues between the husband and the wife themselves, there are certain steps to take from an Islamic perspective. So not to go too much into this, but it would be things that would be first to communicate in a good manner, in a sound manner, kind manner of what is your rights and responsibilities within the marriage, and to express that, look, I'm unhappy with this thing with now marriage. And this I messaging, I think it's very important, something I don't take UCT when you speak to an individual, you don't say, you do this to me, and you hurt me like this, and you did these things to me. But the way you actually speak to an individual is, I feel hurt sometimes when these words are said. So
Okay.
things like this is called I messaging, but then it's verbal, and then you go to the step two would be separation between the couple to sort out the differences. So maybe separate parting ways in the house. Then it would be indicating towards, but I don't want to go too much depth, and it would be the depth, but then it would be an arbitrator as well. So that is if there's marital discord between the couple.
Mm.
But if it's external factors, and then you first have to identify it and then work together. So you would come with and especially if it's involving the kids, you'd have to sort out everything that you need to discuss prior to speaking to the kids, because you would want what we call a united front. You wouldn't want
Mm.
that when you come and you speak to kids about certain things, maybe it's financial issues, but now
Yeah.
you have to break the news to them. But maybe you can't go to that function, or you can't do this because of financial reasons. Then we wouldn't want it to be blame game between the parents just because you made that financial decision. No, we want a united front. And so to take the parents to sort out their things and then go together to the family and say, this is the decision we as parents have taken. And you can even sometimes, depending on the age of the child, ask them their input,
Mm.
ask them how they feel about certain situations. Um, I'm not too sure what was the question. I'm not sure if I answered the question.
No, you did. It's about, of the couple standing together and creating that front of their stability so that the family can actually, pull to that, towards that. So it's about
Yes,
that environment, yeah.
and just something I wanted to add on is that I hear a lot of times people mention, it's 50-50 between the couple.
Mm-hmm.
But I think it's more important to think of it that you need to know each other's weaknesses and strengths.
Okay.
Because sometimes an individual is not able to bring their 50%. And if
Yeah.
that's the case, and if it takes the one individual to bring 70%, because the other is just not able to bring the full 50%, then you must understand when are those cases going to arise? What is it that my spouse struggles with? What do they find difficult? How can I assist them? Where do I bring my part in helping them? So it's not always 50-50, but to know when it's needed for you to step up a little bit. And it shouldn't only come from the one side all the time, that the one gives 80% and the other gives 20, but you must know that there's a balance between the two. Sometimes I can give more, sometimes you can give more, and I think that's important. It takes real maturity in a marriage to be able to speak about, these are my weaknesses, these are the things that I struggle with, this is when I need, an extra push and help from you. This will filter down in the kids as well, to see that their parents as a united front, to see them as a couple that works together, and it strengthens each other.
So Yasmina, one of the last questions I want to look at, if there are any resources or support or networks that we can be aware of as parents that can help us and our family navigate these challenging times. It is unprecedented. We went through COVID, which was unprecedented, and we needed that emotional support. Now it's being, in the line and literally feeling as if you are there in the war-torn areas. So, both whether it's gangsterism, drugs locally, or the war and conflict in Palestine globally, how do we navigate this, and what sort of resources can we tap onto?
So the best resource, and it's always what the first thing that I have this discussion with my clients is, and even with kids when they come in. So with kids, you would maybe draw a family tree or things like that. To
Okay.
just be able to gauge, okay, so what are the support structures they have? Who are the people that they lean into within their family unit? And then
Okay.
with adults, you don't have to draw a family tree, but it would be good to identify who are the people within your family that you can depend on. That if you are struggling in certain aspects of your life, who are the people that you can open up to, that maybe are able to assist you. So knowing your networks in your family, that's number one.
Yeah.
Support, with regards to support, family is number one. That's why it's very important to maintain that family relationships. You might not like this aunt or that cousin or this family member or that sister for certain reasons, but this is your family. That's why family ties are very important, because these are the people you turn to first. But also, and I probably have to say this as a therapist, but there are certain times when you need professional help. When you need to identify as a couple that, look, we've tried our best, we've tried maybe getting an arbitrator between the two of us to assist us with maybe difficulties that we are facing.
Yeah.
But we've realized now that maybe you are actually struggling with mental health difficulties. Maybe it's things that are out of our hands. Maybe we need couples therapy. Maybe we need family therapy. Maybe there's a loss. Maybe there's something that you're just unable to deal with. And this is where professional help comes in. And I
Okay.
know it's a little bit of a difficult topic, especially in our Muslim community, to seek therapy. But I think we must do away with this now, and recognize the fact that, especially now after COVID, like you've mentioned, especially now being exposed to Palestine, that things from the other side of the world can now directly affect us in our homes. So now more than ever, it might be that you need professional assistance.
Yeah.
So I think that those would be two key aspects, definitely.
Yasmina Samaai Salie, shukran so much for your time. We're definitely and most aptly going to reschedule and do another follow-up show, because we need to know how to foster a healthy and happy family in our homes, because it does actually start in our four walls, what's happening in our ground, and we are the pillars as parents. And inshallah, I look forward to having, a series of inspirational shows with you. But thank you again for your time. We appreciate it. Any last words you'd like to leave us with?
So just like I said, mentioned at the very beginning and now towards the end, that it's very important. You go out and you study for 4 or 5, how many years it is for your degree,
Yeah.
whatever job you're going to do one day. It's just as important when you're raising a family. You also have to be educated. So not only are there various courses that you can attend, because you think nothing of spending this money going to a restaurant. So why not maybe purchase? Maybe there's free things that to gain education on how to raise a good family, how to be aware of things like abuse, to be aware of my kids, how to foster that relationship between husband and wives. There are so many educational platforms, free ones out there where you can gain this information. Make use of this to empower yourself and to empower your family.
Thank you so much. Jazakallah khair. And until we speak again, Yasmina, all the best and be safe. Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum salam.
Let's all look after our mental health, both for ourselves and our children and our family, our spouses, our helpers, our external and internal family members. And we'll definitely do a follow-up with Yasmina, our social worker, raising healthy and happy children and fostering that good family, holistic family. For today's show, alhamdulillah, we appreciate your time. Please stay with us as we continue and show you how really life does matter in every aspect, and with you as well. We create the environment of the show, so don't forget to interact with us. But for now, from myself, Hawa Solomon, wassalamu alaikum and goodbye.